Hello and welcome. This is Peace News. It is Sunday, July 27th, 2014, and we are recording live from Keene in the Shire. I'm your host, Derek J. Learn about me at derekj.me. You can catch video of this program at PeaceNewsNow.com/live. There you'll see a chat room. You can interact with other listeners. You can submit questions to me or some of the guests on the show. You can also call in and take control of the show. If you've got topics you want to talk about, as long as they fit into the category of peaceful resistance, let's talk about it. Our call-in line is 443-424-8347. You can find that listed on our website or Skype into the program at PeaceNewsNow. You just send a contact request, it will be accepted, and then you can dial in and connect with us. So what are we talking about today? When do you have to show ID to a cop? It's a big question. A lot of people don't know the answer. You have to look up the laws in your home state. You might have to test the laws, try them out yourself, but generally there are a couple of good rules to follow. We're going to show some videos of people being asked for ID and being successful in refusing that. Why would you refuse to give ID? Some people want to live a private life. I myself don't have an issue with living publicly. I publish pretty much everything I do to the internet by video recording it and then posting it to different YouTube sites and blog posts. But there are some people who value their privacy a lot more than me. And even I, when confronted by police officers, want to retain my privacy, at least in that moment, because I know that they're going to use my identification to make some sort of notation or police log about their interaction with me, and then I end up on some database. I don't want that. You know, where is this information going after the police collect it? We don't really know if it trickles its way up to the feds or any other nefarious agency related to torture or kidnapping people. So, hey, I want to stay away from these goons. I'm not trying to give them any more ammunition, like identifying information, if I'm not required to. So what about you? Well, if you're like Kevin Suter, who was driving down the road at around 1 a.m. when he got pulled into a shopping center to see what half a dozen cop cars were doing there, you may be questioned about, you know, what are you doing here? We need to see some ID. Well, what are the rules on that? Well, for Ken, upon pulling in, he was quickly stopped by St. Peter's, Missouri police officers who began the interrogation. What happened next was nothing short of rights-flexing mastery, writes the author at freethoughtproject.com. Suter was so confident about being in the right that he was able to drive off from this officer without being shot at or followed. Enjoy this wonderful moment caught on film. And for those of you who are listening along, you can enjoy the audio version. You can hear them speak quite plainly. This video from Paradigm Shift. So the video reads, while driving down Mexico Road in St. Peter's, Missouri at 1 a.m., I noticed about 5 or 6 police cars in the parking lot of a strip mall center near Grand Tenton Drive. I decided to pull into the parking lot and see what all the fuss was about when a St. Peter's police officer on foot started flashing his flashlight at me in an effort to get me to stop. This is the encounter that took place when I stopped my vehicle.
Hi there, how are you? Can I help you with anything?
You came to me.
Right, we got an incident over here, and I saw you driving across the lot. I was seeing if you were related to that incident.
Do I look like I'm related?
I have no idea, sir. You have your ID I can see?
Well, what crime do you suspect me of committing?
A burglary?
You suspect me of committing a burglary.
We have a burglary over here, and you're leaving the lot.
No, I think that you're pulling strings. I think you're stretching.
Okay. Can I have your name, please?
No, you can't.
Okay.
And he just drives away. He's not shot at, chased, or anything. Now, he writes in the video that if I hadn't been videotaping, I believe this encounter would have been much different. As you can tell by his demeanor, this officer seemed very reluctant to push the issue further. Because he was on camera, he was forced to do things, quote, by the book. and was prevented from violating my rights. Although there was a burglary in the strip mall, which would have been construed as reasonable suspicion to ask me for ID, I felt that by him saying he had no idea if I looked related, he had no right to pursue the interrogation, and felt comfortable withholding it and driving away. And judging by his actions, or lack thereof, I believe he felt the same way. Just a brilliant video by this man. He's right that carrying a video camera does change the situation when police know that they're going to be held to an objective record of what is happening, of their actions. They will be held to account, whether in court or by the court of public opinion, and it changes the way they act. They want to have better behavior. And who among us wouldn't want to be our best behaved on camera? Especially if you're collecting your paycheck by taxpayer dollars. There's a lot of people out there who are going to see what you're doing and may not like it, may write to your boss. They consider you, officers, their employees. After all, they pay for you. So just something to think about. But when can you just drive off? When are you really free to go? This man didn't ask any of the classic questions about am I being detained? Am I under arrest? Am I free to go? Well, it's important you know your rights. The freethoughtproject.com has a blog post posted recently by Brandon Davies, Esquire, a lawyer who writes, "Cops love to overstep their bounds and trample on your rights. Some people choose to just do what they're told and let the cops tell them what to do. Some people choose to go along to get along. But if that isn't you, if you want to exercise your rights when confronted by the man, then this article is for you." The go along to get along folks might say, well, why are you doing that? Why are you being difficult? You haven't done anything, so why don't you just do what the cops ask? They're just doing their jobs. Stop being so difficult. To the go along to get along folks, he says, the liberties of our country, the freedom of our civil constitution, are worth defending at all hazards, and it is our duty to defend them against all attacks. We have received them as fair inheritance from our worthy ancestors. They purchased them for us with toil and danger and expense of treasure and blood, and transmitted them to us with care and diligence. It will bring an everlasting mark of infamy on the present generation, enlightened as it is, should suffer them to be wrestled from us by violence without a struggle, or to be cheated out of them by the artifices of false and designing men. No, that isn't a quote from Brandon Davies, Esquire. It's a quote from Samuel Adams over 200 years ago. Now, for the people that are tired of the intrusion, who are tired of the people who weren't cool in high school and are now in a uniform wielding the sliver of power that they have over everyone, here is what you can do. Exercise the rights you have. When you have an interaction with a police officer and they ask you to identify yourself, here are your legal rights. And remember, there is a point that we need to clarify before we get started. Producing identification and identifying oneself are two different things. To clarify, producing identification means providing law enforcement with a physical object that identifies who you are. Identifying yourself can be a simple communication of your first and last name. We'll get into when do you have to give your license to a police officer and the factors that are considered in determining if at a specific instance it is satisfied by the test. So we've got some tests for you, some information could save you from a trip to jail after this.
Did you know that Free Aid is a mutual aid, educational, and networking organization? First Aid. We do outreach to the public about health and safety, and we bring together medically skilled freedom lovers. Free Aid is made possible by your generous support. Donors can receive great gifts like first aid kits, t-shirts, silver dime cards, and hoodies. The Free Aid Silver Dime Card Project is sponsored in part by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage, Freedom's Phoenix, and Don't Tread on Meme. Visit fr33aid.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. Find out about giving to our Google AdWords campaign at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
Did you know you can get news updates about what's happening with the Liberty Radio Network delivered in the way you prefer? You can sign up for our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. Plus, you can stay in the loop by joining our Facebook profile at facebook.lrn.fm or follow us at Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm. It's all free, so sign up now at updates.lrn.fm for news updates delivered to your email box, facebook.lrn.fm to follow our Facebook page, and twitter.lrn.fm to receive our tweets.
On LRN.FM, we talk a lot about alternative currencies. Did you know that now you can buy gold, silver, and other precious metals with bitcoins? LRN.FM has partnered with Amaji Metals to bring you great prices on beautiful .999 fine silver, as well as gold, platinum, and
about by the recent Republican vice presidential nominee.
Hello and welcome. This is Peace News. Monday, July 27th, 2014, and we are recording live from Keene in the Shire. I'm your host, Derek J. Learn about me at derekj.me. You can catch video of this program at PeaceNewsNow.com/live. There you'll see a chat room. You can interact with other listeners. You can submit questions to me or some of the guests on the show. You can also call in and take control of the show. If you've got topics you want to talk about, as long as they fit into the category
various forms of activism with seasoned veterans, do some Robin Hooding, and learn about making the move. Keenvention received rave reviews last year. If you missed it, visit keenvention.info for full video coverage of every speaker and panel. This year, Rich Paul is our first announced keynote speaker, and more are being announced now at keenvention.info. Join old and new friends and neighbors in Keene for Keenvention this October 31st through November 2nd. You can pre-order your tickets now for just $60 at keenvention.info, or you can pay with Bitcoin. Visit keenvention.info for more information and to lock in your tickets at the pre-order $60 price for the whole weekend. Visit keenvention.info for more, or look for our page and event on Facebook. That's keenvention.info.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
When do you have to give your ID to a police officer? And when do you have to identify yourself? And what's the difference? You are only required to produce your actual physical driver's license in two separate scenarios. One, if you're the driver in a motor vehicle that is pulled over in a checkpoint that comports with Brown v. Texas, and more specifically, State v. Deskins. Now, sometimes it can be to your advantage to memorize court cases so that you can reference them, show that you're informed about the topic. If a law enforcer is doubting your expertise, but this is not something that I practice because I don't want to rely on what some Supreme Court justice said about my rights. Who are they except for lawyers in black dresses? Not really an authority in my mind, but this is what some people like to rely on, and it is admittedly an effective tactic. Now here's the applicable test according to Brandon Davies. Weighing the gravity of the public concerns served by the seizure, the degree to which the seizure advances the public interest, and the severity of the interface with individual liberty. That's from Brown v. Texas. And the factors that are considered in determining if specific instance is satisfied by the test, oh boy. Numerous conditions and factors must be considered in determining whether a DUI roadblock meets the balancing test in favor of the state. Among the factors which should be considered are, 1, the degree of discretion, if any, left to the officer in the field, also the location designated for the roadblock, the time and duration of the roadblock, standards set by superior officers, advance notice to the public at large, advance warning to the individual approaching motorist, maintenance of safety concerns, degree of fear or anxiety generated by the mode of operation, average length of time each motorist is detained, physical factors surrounding the location, type, and method of operation. Boy, this article is written by a lawyer. You can tell. Boring. I just want to skip. I mean, I thought this was important to share. This is important information, but do lawyers have to make everything so boring with all of these notations in court cases and citations in 1979, 469, U.S. 221, 1985? This is so irrelevant. When do you have to tell an officer your name? Well, it depends on the circumstances. An officer can always ask you your name, but just because they ask doesn't mean that you have to answer. You're only obligated in certain scenarios. Additionally, in some instances, even if he or she does have the right to ask, and the requirements are met that require you to answer, the state may have no mechanism to prosecute you, even if you refuse to identify yourself. Complicated, right? This is the only time you're obligated to identify yourself, other than the 2 scenarios listed above, in which you must provide a physical identifying document. You only have to identify yourself when the officer is stopping you because he or she has reasonable suspicion that you may be involved in a criminal activity. So you can also still refuse if you have a reasonable belief that identifying yourself will incriminate you in a crime. Now here's the example of that man who was just driving off when asked to identify himself. He gave the officer a question saying, do you believe me to be guilty of committing a crime? The officer said, well, there's a burglary here and you're going away, so it might be you. He said, do you think it's me? And the officer said, I have no idea. Well, he just admitted that he doesn't have reasonable suspicion that this guy committed a crime, so the man is free to go. He knew the rules and he acted on them. It was brilliant, and I applaud more behavior like his. I want to share with you also something interesting that happened to me this week while I was doing exactly this, going through a police checkpoint. People were asked for their IDs and if they had been drinking that night, a couple of other invasive questions, and I was trying to encourage people to steer clear from the checkpoint, to avoid it if they want to. And after, unfortunately, a man was arrested, and, well, this is what happened next. Hey everyone, so if you caught my last video, a man in Manchester was arrested last night for the crime of honking his horn. And then from what I saw, it seems like the police alleged that he refused a sobriety checkpoint, but he, in the video, said that he did not refuse. Now, if you go back and check from my YouTube channel, you can see the raw video there. But afterwards, I went with a few other activists to the jail to see if he had been booked and to see if possibly he could be bailed out. When we got to the jail, we encountered some difficulties with police. Here's that video.
I stopped by the front entrance because someone I just met got arrested, but I wasn't able to ring the doorbell. I don't think anyone was there. Okay, where can I find booking 1034? I'm actually right in front of 1034. That's the doorbell that we rang, but no one answered. Okay, thank you. You coming out? She said she'd let booking know that we're outside.
They already said so. We talked to them on the phone.
I called the jail, wanted to speak with someone in booking, let them know that we were out here, and they're not answering our doorbell.
On the sidewalk, you guys are all set on the sidewalk, not on the property.
How do we get in touch with them?
I don't know if they can answer or not. I don't know.
They just did. They were on the phone. They said come to the door. They said come to door number 1034.
They told us.
And it looks like there's someone who's coming to the door to greet us. So thank you very much for your help. I think we're all set.
I wasn't coming to you. I was coming to them.
Okay. I think we're all set.
Okay, if you want to film, come down onto the sidewalk. You can't film up on the property.
I can't film inside?
We're not going to have you film inside, no.
Okay. Where's the rule on that? So this police car came up to us and then told us to come around.
So I would appreciate it if you come down here and do it if you want to do it.
Is that a request or an order?
No, it's not a request. I'm asking you.
So is it not an order?
Why are you covering your face? What's your name?
I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a nice night.
What is your name?
Thank you. Have a nice night.
Excuse me, sir. What is your name?
What's your name?
So this guy, he goes away and he hides out in the corner. So I come over to him and go to ask him his name. Now he requests ID from me, and I'm not required to give that. Karen, C-A-R-O-N. And what's your deputy's name? What's your friend's name here? I'm not required to give that to you. Well, I think that you should be accountable to the public who pays your salary. What's your friend's name here? Excuse me, sir, what's your name? Hey, deputy, what is your name? So you can see the police don't want to identify themselves, but they're quick to ask you who you are. What's your ID? Give me your information. I don't have to tell you who I am. I'm just some thug in a uniform.
Friends of local man Carl Brewster told reporters this week they are all absolutely at a loss as to how he is not completely depressed.
I've known Carl for years now, and he really is a great guy, super nice. But honestly, I don't know how he doesn't go home and cry himself to sleep every night. I mean, walks dogs for a living, and no one will ever date him. I really don't get it.
Saying that they were baffled at how their close friend managed to remain even moderately happy day in and day out given his life circumstances, sources confirmed they were regularly confronted with Carl's perplexingly gregarious and affable demeanor.
I mean, Carl's life really, really sucks, but somehow he manages to wave good morning to me every time I see him, and he always has this big smile on his face. Maybe he's on some kind of medication.
Things have always been really awful for Carl, but he's never really been depressed. I mean, I make 3 times as much money as him, and I'm totally miserable. Honestly, we all thought he would have killed himself by now, but he hasn't.
This is the Onion News Network. If there was a place that liberty-minded people had been elected to political positions and were rolling back government, would you move there? If freedom lovers had secured a 20% voting bloc and can veto most bad bills, would you move? Well, the time has come to sign the pledge at freestateproject.org. These things have happened in New Hampshire, and you can join us and help. freestateproject.org. Sign up now at freestateproject.org.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keen. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. So it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. It's my firm belief that the AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented groups. Support all your favorite organizations, but make sure you give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm.
Did you agree? Did you totally agree? I'll bet that you did, but did you read the agreement? There are 7 billion people on Earth, and there are over 6 billion active cell phone accounts right now, and every one of them came with an agreement. Billions have already agreed to allow entities that they do not know to use and abuse every feature of their mobile devices. Your computer activity is monitored and archived, your car is tracked, and even your face is scanned. The current power structure grows more fearful every day of your desire for anonymity, independence, free association, freedom of movement, freedom of expression, and your freedom of thought. And entire categories of humans will be targeted. And if they, them, those that won't leave us alone determine that we are not within their control, then we will be categorized as out of control. FreedomsPhoenix.com will launch the next phase of the Levolution by the end of the summer of 2014. And if you have to tell your neighbors about it, then we did it wrong.
You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to Peace News. Our topic today is, do I have to show ID? Usually you don't. Here's another video of an encounter with 2 individuals. One is pulled over and the passenger is accused of being an anarchist for refusing to give her ID. Give a listen.
Stay pulled over for you.
Okay, so a guy is pulled over, he's reaching for his ID.
Yeah.
You want to grab my insurance over there?
I don't know where it is.
Can I grab my insurance? I got a headlight out.
Yes, you do.
I'm aware of it too.
Okay.
It's got electrical problem. Hang on.
Probably not a good idea to admit to doing something wrong right off the bat.
Vancouver.
Vancouver, all right. Enjoying the 4th of July, or?
No, not yet.
That's tomorrow.
Where you guys going?
We're going to my house, which is right there.
Okay.
Smart thing
There's
for
that
this
part.
young lady to be recording this interaction. If you're ever pulled over, pull out a video camera, turn your phone camera on, get a recording of it, at least audio. It is your right to record an interaction with law enforcement.
Give you your registration back. Yes, your registration. I'll hold on to your insurance here.
You never know when it could be useful, like perhaps in this encounter.
Okay.
It's also good to let the officers know that they are being video recorded, as this man just did.
In a few days, but here it is. It's nice and valid. Be right back with your driver's license.
I thought that was an interesting point the officer made. Oh, it's going to be expired in a few days, but it's nice and valid now. There's just some magic wand that gets waved over his paperwork that makes it irrelevant.
Because I'm asking. We're here.
Oh, there we go.
Wait, there's nothing else
I missed it.
You shouldn't be asking my passenger for her ID.
I can ask her whatever I want. I just told her she's not being stopped.
Okay.
Are you guys like attorneys in training, or are you anarchists?
No. What happens if I refuse to give you my ID?
You can refuse.
Okay. So I'd rather not give you my ID.
I'm just wondering what what the attitude's about. Is it because you just genuinely hate police, or are you anarchist in the...
Look at the framing that he's
what
trying
is
to
it?
give here. She doesn't have any sort of
No.
attitude.
And I can
She's
tell
been
you this is
perfectly
not
polite.
typical behavior.
What behavior?
All right, smart one.
Yep, he freezes. She answered a question with a question, and he doesn't know what to do.
I'm not sure what behavior he's talking about, to be honest.
It's interesting to me also that he puts lawyers in training in the same class as anarchists. Yeah, excuse the language, but it's important to record your encounters with police and to retain your personal information from these people. You know, who knows? If these are people impersonating a cop, then you've given them private information. I mean, keep your privacy if you want it. It's becoming more and more of a valuable commodity in the 21st century as we're losing it more and more every day. So, on the same topic, if people are arrested for simple victimless crimes, perhaps not presenting government ID when ordered, or smoking, or having an open container in their car, or maybe something as simple as a speeding ticket, these are all candidates for jury nullification, an idea that citizens have the power to nullify bad laws. At least in one particular case in court, you can acquit a person who's been charged with a victimless crime if you disagree with the law itself. Now, activists launch a nationwide campaign promoting jury nullification. You can contact James Babb, the project facilitator, at James Babb, that's Babb, B-A-B-B, at mac.com. Juror rights activists have started a nationwide campaign to educate the public about our rights if selected for jury duty. This from freedomsphoenix.com. Quote, if you are ever selected for jury duty, the normal instinct is to find a way out of it. That is completely understandable, especially if you don't understand the incredible opportunity of the juror to stop wrongful imprisonment and government tyranny, said project facilitator James Babb. Every juror has the power to say not guilty if they disagree with the law. Every juror has the power to judge the facts of the case, the law itself, and whether or not the law is being misapplied. This is the power of jury nullification, a centuries-old tradition that goes back to the Magna Carta. A single juror with a conscience can send a peaceful man home to his family instead of to a cage. On October 10th, this ad campaign began in the nation's capital. A large illuminated diorama ad is on display at the Judiciary Square Metro Rail Station. 2 imposing pylon ads are on display at the Archives Station. The headline of these ads reads, Jury Duty? Know Your Rights, and Google Jury Nullification. Additional matching postcards have been created for street outreach. The majority of these funds were crowdsourced using social media. In less than 1 week, nearly $3,000 was raised to start the campaign. Based on this success, future ad locations are in the works for new locations. The next scheduled locations are Phoenix, Arizona, and Los Angeles, California. Over $1,000 has already been raised. If you would like to see jury nullification ads in your town, email jamesbabb@mac.com. Quote, many of us were inspired by former Penn State professor Dr. Julian Heiklin, who has traveled the country to pamphlet near courthouses, informing potential jurors of their right to nullify bad laws. We want to build on his work, said Babb. Today's justice system is polluted with victimless crimes and numerous unjust laws. The incarceration rate in the U.S. is the highest in the world, ranking #1 for both the most prisoners and the highest percentage of people in cages. Every day, people are arrested for violating drug prohibition laws, selling raw milk or lemonade, exercising the right of self-defense, even collecting rainwater or growing a garden on your own property can get you arrested. Babb added, quote, "In addition to destroying the lives of peaceful people, this culture of incarceration has created an unbearable tax burden. As the justice system becomes more corrupt, the role of the juror becomes more important than ever." The ad campaign has already made waves. According to the Washington Post, quote, "Prosecutors have been scrambling to ensure that the Billboards message doesn't influence their cases. An informed jury is clearly a threat to the establishment." And you can see there is a fundraiser campaign happening at freedomsphoenix.com, where the fundraising goal of $5,000 has been nearly over half, well, it has been over half completed. Over $2,500 has been raised thanks to 32 different contributors. Looks like support can come in the form of both FRNs, Federal Reserve Notes, and Bitcoin. You can make an immediate contribution direct from your Bitcoin account by scanning the QR code that you see on the screen, or by copy and pasting the Bitcoin address into any Bitcoin payment application. Now, we'll return with more stories of peaceful resistance about the Wisconsin Supreme Court upholding your right to drive away. More when Peace News Now returns.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Juicy Juice, 100% juice, providing a full serving of fruit in every 4 ounces. Visit us at juicyjuice.com. When it comes to nutrition, kids need both fruits and vegetables every day to stay healthy and grow. For the ideal mix, your kid should have at least 1.5 cups of any veggie or 100% veggie juice, and 1 cup of any fruit or 100% fruit juice a day. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippie! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Badavi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
If you can't listen to the Liberty Radio Network's internet streams, free satellite channel, or radio affiliates, no worries. You can listen to LRN.FM from any phone, anywhere. Add this number to your phone. 213-493-0309. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The Liberty Radio Network listen lines are locked into our stream 24 hours a day. Call 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateur, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronic, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.lrn.fm. Get all your shopping done. Get a great deal. A portion of your purchase goes to benefit the Liberty Radio Network when you shop at Amazon via shop.lrn.fm. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Maybe you've had an experience refusing to show your ID to a police officer. Call in and tell us about it. 443-424-8347 spells out hi-fi, civ dis. You can call in to the show. You can also Skype into the program by Skyping username PeaceNewsNow. All one word. You know, I'm reminded of the quote by Martin Luther King Jr. that those who love peace must learn to organize as effectively as those who love war. Certainly something to consider when we think about this encounter with an agent of the state as an involuntary interaction, something that you are not free to leave. You're not free to go if you're being detained or if you're being arrested. Well, here's one tool you can use to help free yourself before that happens. Here's a flyer. This was sent to me by one user in the chat room. Now, I'll try and blow the image up so that you can see it a little bit better. It reads, "I remain silent. No searches. I want my lawyer. Please put any tickets under the windshield wiper. I am not required to sign," and then it lists some sort of code that must lend support to that claim. "I am not required to hand you my license," and then lends another code. Says, "Thus, I am not opening my window. I will comply with clearly stated lawful orders." This is a perfect get-off-the-hook flyer, and the website which posts it reads, and that's at fairdui.org. If you'd like to print one out yourself, keep it in your glove box. If you ever go through a DUI checkpoint, oh my gosh, I got stopped, I had no idea, I wasn't expecting this, and here's what you can put up in your window. The idea behind the flyer is that you keep it in your car and show it to police at checkpoints and traffic stops. This is not for everyone, nor for every situation. To find out whether the flyer is for you and when you should and shouldn't use it, please read more on our flyer page, the website reads. To better understand police encounters and how to protect yourself, you should consider buying the Fair DUI book. At this writing, November 2013, the book has 16 reviews on Amazon with an average of 4.6 stars out of 5. And certainly looks very helpful. The website also has videos listed of other police encounters, people using the Fair DUI checkpoint flyer. I'd like to see your videos. How's it working out for you? Do you have any success with this? I only recently went through my first DUI checkpoint a few weeks ago with James Cleveland and Robert Mathis of activists in the Shire, and they went through the checkpoint no problems, except that James was told that he had to go. He wanted to stay and ask the officer some more questions. It was sort of civil obedience. He was complying a little too much with the police stop. And so the officer sent him on his way, a little bit perturbed and angry that he wouldn't go sooner. Very interesting to have these types of encounters. Of course, the most important thing to remember is that you must video record what is happening so that there's an objective record, so that the police don't claim, oh, I was in fear for my life. Certainly been the fate of many people who are now dead, and that's unfortunate. I don't want that to happen to good activists. You're certainly no use to anyone 6 feet under the ground. Now, why do I bring all this up? There's one major Supreme Court decision which upholds a person's right to drive away from a cop at a window, just like the video that we started this program with. Wisconsin drivers can ignore a police officer knocking on their car window. The state Supreme Court rules, this from thenewspaper.com. When Wisconsin police officers knock on the window of a car and motion to roll the window down, the state Supreme Court said in a 5-2 ruling that motorists are free to ignore the cop and drive away. Although we acknowledge that this is a close case, we conclude that a law enforcement officer's knock on a car window does not, by itself, constitute a show of authority sufficient to give rise to the belief in a reasonable person that the person is not free to leave. Those are the words of Justice David T. Prosser, who wrote for the majority. The justices argued in the context of the December 25, 2011 incident, in which Grant County Deputy Sheriff Matthew Small knocked on the window of Daniel Voigt, who was parked with the engine running in the Riverdale parking lot in the village of Cassville at 2 a.m. It was 37 degrees at the time, and Voigt had done nothing illegal. But Deputy Small thought it was suspicious that Voigt was in the parking lot of a park that had closed at 11 p.m. Deputy Small stopped behind Voigt's car with his headlights on, but his overhead red and blue lights off. He walked up to the car and saw Voigt in the driver's seat and Kimberly Russell in the passenger seat. He testified that he would have to let Voigt go had he driven off because he had nothing to stop him for. Voigt did not drive off because he thought he could not do so without hitting the deputy. He believed that he had no choice but to comply. Once the window was down, Deputy Small smelled alcohol and noticed Voigt's speed was slurred. This led to alcohol, a DUI. The court's majority argued that the initial interaction was voluntary. Very interesting. Perhaps the court has stepped in it this time by suggesting that this man, who they're prosecuting for driving under the influence while stopped at a park in the middle of the night, his initial interaction was voluntary. Well, by claiming that, yes, they certainly get to prosecute him for his so-called victimless crime. However, it frees up the rest of us to say, bye-bye, I'm not talking to you, to the next officer who demands our attention by a knock at the window, at least in Wisconsin. Quote, "The objective of law enforcement is to protect and serve the community," Justice Prosser wrote. "Accordingly, an officer's interactions with people are not automatically adversarial. A court's seizure inquiry into one of these interactions must examine the totality of the circumstances, seeking to identify the line between an officer's real attempt to have a consensual conversation and a more consequential attempt to detain an individual. Because the deputy did not have his emergency lights activated, the majority believed a reasonable, innocent person in the same situation could have driven off with the officer knocked at the window. The majority refused to speculate what would have happened to Voigt had he actually driven away. The dissenting justices said the majority position was absurd. Quote, The world of legal decisions does not reflect the real world, Chief Justice Shirley Abraham said. No reasonable person I can imagine would feel free to drive away under the circumstances of the present case when the officer knocked on the car window and instructed the person to roll down the car window. A reasonable person would be concerned that driving away would be viewed as violating some law that governs obstructing an officer, disobeying an officer, or fleeing. A copy of the decision is available in PDF format at the link below on the website at thenewspaper.com. The source is called Grant County v. Voigt, and this was heard in the Supreme Court in Wisconsin just a week ago in July 18th, 2014, a consequential decision. Now here is the copy of that PDF of the original decision. You can read it yourself because I think this is a very interesting case with lots of ramifications for those of us who drive and might encounter law enforcement while on the road. I certainly want to know what my consensual interaction. So long as it's consensual, I'm going to refuse. If I am being forced to endure an interaction with an officer, well, hey, I'll do so regretfully, but I have to be under a threat of force. If I'm free to go, I'm out of there. I've got nothing to say to you, officer. And I think that's how it should be for most people. But let's see, what else is going on in the world of peaceful resistance? Yes, when we come back, I want to talk about a petition that's going around, change.org. I don't normally support petitions, especially those at change.org, but I think this is important for the statement about bit licenses. It's a petition to end bit licenses. Do you need a license? Do you need government permission in order to use Bitcoin? I say, heck no, and millions of others agree. Do you? Maybe you should sign the petition at change.org.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it. Which order can go this way?
You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually.
Whoa. Hey. Who do you think?
Excuse me.
There is no video allowed.
No, I have work today. This is
You ain't gonna make it.
Wait a minute.
For the other road.
Whoa. Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running? Because you're scared me. What am I being paid for? What is this? What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek A's victim crime spree. Watch it for free and order the director's cut DVD.
Did you know that you can listen to LRN.FM 24/7 via our free-to-air satellite channel? From Mexico to Canada, our signal covers nearly all of North America. All you need is a view of the southern sky, an affordable receiver, and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you're a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage map and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm.
If you want to move to the free state and you're looking for some real estate, well, I know a guy who's really great. It's the realtor Mark Gordon. Do you want a home with 20 acres, a lakeside cabin? Any takers for renters, buyers, and sellers too? Mark Gordon is the guy for you. PorcupineRealEstate.com.
More Peace News Now is coming up next, live after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates, online at thelibertybeat.com. I'm Brian Hagan with your Liberty Beat for Friday, July 25th, 2014. Gold opened today at $1,299, silver opened at $20.86, and Bitcoin is trading around $598.18. Support for Liberty comes from Affordable Sound, CD and DVD duplication for all your print and audio duplication needs. Mention promo code Liberty and get 5% off all DVD and CD duplication jobs. Online, affordablesound.com, or call them up, 512-459-5253. In the news, Texans for Accountable Government will be having their next meeting July 28th at Sherlock's Baker Street Pub at 7 p.m. On the agenda, Heather Fazio from Marijuana Policy Project, Rachel Kinney on winning elections, and Dr. Norman Horn will discuss the upcoming Christians for Liberty event with special guest Dr. Laura Presley, City Council candidate for District 4. The Liberty Beat's own Justin Armand will be emceeing the event July 28th, 7 p.m. at Sherlock's Baker Street Pub. Texans for Accountable Government is a political action committee dedicated to creating a more free and prosperous Texas. More info at tagtexas.org. Christianity and liberty come together in a first-of-its-kind conference planned for Saturday, August 2nd, on the campus of Austin's St. Edward's University. Norman Horn is the founder and chief editor of LibertarianChristians.com.
Well, it has been the desire of a lot of my readers for some time to have the opportunity to come together and meet a lot of Christian libertarians all in one place. But it's no surprise that people wanted to see this happen, especially as we've been growing our presence in various corners of the web, like at our Christian Libertarian Facebook group.
The all-day conference kicks off at 9 o'clock on the morning of August 2nd and will conclude with an evening social at 8:30.
This is an opportunity to hear a number of Christian libertarian speakers talk about our views of faith and politics working in tandem. We have a number of great opportunities to fellowship together, to meet new people, and to discuss our views and encourage each other and equip each other to be better advocates for liberty from a Christian point of view.
Peripheral events are also planned, with all liberty-minded individuals, not just Christians, invited to attend. Registration details and a full conference schedule can be found at LibertarianChristians.com. Support for Liberty Beat comes from The Corey Moore Show, live Friday nights, 9 o'clock Central at CoreyMooreShow.com. And support comes from Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Incorporated, specializing in precious metals since 1977. They don't feed the banks by taking credit cards, but you can bet they take Bitcoin. Online, rrbi.co, or by phone, 800-874-9760. This is the Liberty Beat for Friday, July 25th, 2014. Check out the website at thelibertybeat.com. House investigators Tuesday announced that the computer hard drive of ex-IRS official Lois Lerner was only scratched and not irreparably damaged. That report from Fox News. Investigators learned that Lerner's hard drive was recoverable after talking to IRS information technology experts, according to the committee. Members of Congress say the new information raises questions about potential criminal wrongdoing because the agency previously claimed the hard drive was recycled and potentially shredded. Investigators are still trying to determine whether the hard drive was scratched accidentally or deliberately. An entire Chinese town of 30,000 residents has been quarantined off from the rest of the country after a man in a nearby village died from bubonic plague. Officials are managing 10 checkpoints around the city of Yuan, preventing travel for more than a week now, as reported by the London Independent. At least 150 people who came into contact with the victim have been placed under direct observation. On Thursday, The Intercept released a 2013 document from the National Counterterrorism Center, which details the rules for placing individuals on terrorism watch lists, including the no-fly list. The 166-page document details what the government defines as terrorism, which includes everything from assassination and hostage-taking to destruction of government property or computers, and any act that is dangerous to property or intended to influence government through intimidation. Support for Liberty Beat comes from the notorious activist Michael Cargill. He has a new show called Come and Talk It, live Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock on 1370 AM in Austin. That's 1370 AM, Sundays at 4. And support comes from Cabo Bob's, non-GMO chips, homemade tortillas, and no high-fructose corn syrup in anything. Online, CaboBobs.com. This is the Liberty Beat for Friday, July 25th, 2014. I'm Brian Hagan reporting.
Like most married couples, Dale and Barbara Patterson like to shake things up from time to time. The couple of 12 years says they've been able to keep their relationship spontaneous and interesting by bickering in all sorts of different positions and even different rooms.
There was a while there when our petty nitpicking got pretty predictable. Dale would finish harping on some stupid bullshit first, and before I had time to get a word in, he would just let out a groan, roll over, and fall asleep. Now he really takes his time ripping me a new one over every little thing.
Maybe we'll just pounce on each other the second we get home from work in the evening. And then just go right back at it in the morning. I mean, sometimes we'll look at each other directly in the eyes when we're having an argument. Other times she turns her back on me and I just scream at her from behind.
We're not exactly shy about doing it in public anymore. Dale gets pretty worked up when there are people around who could be watching or listening.
I still can't believe you forgot.
Not now.
Oh, come on.
I said not now.
Oh,
what?
Don't even.
Don't even what? I asked.
This is the Onion News Network.
Welcome back to Hour 2 of the program. You are listening to Peace News on LRN.FM. We are also live, where you can see video of the show as well as chat room, interact with other listeners there. You can also call into the program, 443-424-8347. Maybe you have had an interaction with police. Maybe you have served on a jury in which you invoked jury nullification, or maybe you're just against these new bit licenses coming out of New York. Well, now there's a petition at change.org where you can speak up against the so-called bit licenses. You can also find the petition at bitlicencepetition.org. Reading from the website, the bill, the proposed bit license regulation, will cripple small business growth in New York while having broad negative effects on individuals and technology firms throughout the country, open source software and commerce sectors, and diminishing their innovation. The Open Source Financial Developers Association is petitioning the governor and legislature to preempt the superintendent of the Department of Financial Services from releasing this onerous regulation that will clearly set in motion long-term detrimental consequences for the voters of New York State. Why is this so important? In technology and innovation. To date, this effort has been driven primarily by grassroots entrepreneurial and community initiatives. There can be little doubt that many of those innovations will be stifled by the proposed regulation in a nation area that has not been given adequate time to prove itself. Virtual currencies, as defined by bit license, such as Bitcoin and its derivatives, are actually a technology protocol similar to the ones presently used to browse the web and send email. The first application of this protocol has been the capability to store value. While very useful, this only touches a small aspect of the protocol's versatility. Regulating this accessible and transparent protocol will cripple open source technology innovation, thus handicapping for years to come New York State's efforts to be a technology leader and undermine the state's ability to both. The imposition of a parallel track of alternate regulations for virtual currencies implies that present regulations for existing fiat currencies and other electronically transmitted payments are inadequate. A number of requirements proposed by the bit license regulations shall clearly create a prejudicial regulatory framework around what is effectively no more than a means of value transmission and will stifle innovation that uses the protocol. There is already precedent in the United States where the Internal Revenue Service deemed Bitcoin as property. For that matter, the IRS has already stated that all existing laws and regulations that apply to property shall also apply to virtual currency. This well-established regulatory approach, as it pertains to traditional currency, is a more than adequate tool for law enforcement to use in curbing fraud and bad actors. Adding a superfluous layer to existing regulation calls into question the intentions and agenda of such regulation, and will only sabotage a protocol that can help spur innovation and can make New York a leader in both technology and commerce. Well, sad to say, whoever the author of this article is, the age of New York being a technological leader is over. New York is in decline. The Empire State is crumbling. And there's nothing we can do about it. It's certainly not our fault. It's the people in charge who've brought it to the ground. And it's because of regulations like these that have squeezed out businesses saying, well, hey, you're making it illegal for me to do business with anyone in New York State. Bye-bye. I don't need you. There's the whole rest of the world, New York. You think you're alone? You think you're the only leader? It's not the case anymore. Those days are gone. And technology will march on without you. So why is this important? I'm not going to read the full petition, but you can read it yourself at bitlicencepetition.org. Bruce Fenton does a wonderful job summarizing the problem with this new regulation. He writes on his blog at fentonreport.com a tweet that was retweeted over 150 times and favorited over 100 times. Quote, "A person no one elected is creating laws no one asked for to prevent problems which don't exist." Superintendent of Financial Services for New York, Ben Lawsky, has issued his proposed regulations for a bit license governing Bitcoin businesses. Bruce writes on his blog, "I've warned people repeatedly about the fact that regulators are not our friends, so the onerous proposal came as no surprise. Many Bitcoiners seemed shocked and caught off guard that the proposal could be so unrealistically strict. Some examples include Bitcoin companies being unable to retain profits in Bitcoin, requirements that small startups hire expensive compliance personnel, requirements that inventors and programmers obtain a license before creating new altcoins, rules which would essentially end mining. The regulations are at the core of a thinly veiled ban of Bitcoin in New York. These actions, Orlowski has proven himself to be a corrupt and dishonest political manipulator who is a clear enemy of progress, innovation, and this community. So why engage him? First, some definitions. Dishonest, not being truthful, claiming he had no knowledge of Charlie Shrem's arrest timing, then using it as political theater during his hearings, claiming he would face, and then dealing in a dishonest manner for personal gain. For example, working with bank cronies to further protectionist policies which greatly harm jobs and Bitcoin, pushing policies which do not have a primary goal of serving the public good. Political manipulator, using political tactics, media, duplicity, political theater, such as invoking events like the tragedy of 9/11, which was mentioned in the hearings, and fears of terrorism as the justifications for these anti-innovation actions, when in reality, all Bitcoin on planet Earth has only a fraction of the value we know with certainty was laundered by the HSBC Bank, for example. Furthermore, his power does not come from competence, knowledge, or even an election. From Bruce Fenton, who explains why we should not engage with Ben Lowski. Just dismiss this tyrant who's barking orders at people he doesn't even know, threatening jail time for the true innovators in this world. Peace News Now returns.
Aren't you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Well, stop using money. You're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it. Use it. Spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at WeUseCoins.com. That's WeUseCoins.com.
The easiest thing in the world for a reader to do is to stop reading, according to the late, great Barney Kilgore, who became managing editor of the Wall Street Journal in 1941 and grew the paper's circulation from 33,000 to 1 million by the 60s, and people now pay to read. In the early 60s, when his label dominated the charts, he'd bring a dozen real people into the Hitsville, USA studios and audition songs, and he'd ask, if you were down to your last dollar, would you spend it on this record or would you buy a sandwich? Today, attention span seems like an oxymoron. For tips on cutting through the clutter, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats and the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's post pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you could spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize politics alone won't set us free. So what will? At Liberty on the Rocks, we believe the answer starts with living your principles, spreading ideas, and connecting with those around you. By starting a Liberty on the Rocks network, you can make a difference by uniting libertarian thinkers. Find out how much fun it is to build your local network from the ground up. Visit libertyontherocks.org today to get started.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
A meme is not easy to define.
What is it?
But you know it when you see it.
Amazing.
Don'tTreadOnMeme.com proves that.
I feel so enlightened.
Don't Tread on Memes, M-E-M-E, helping you give the finger to our monetary system of deception by providing you with silver dime trading cards. Unlike today's dollar, they have value. And they look neat, too.
Oh, would you look at those? Aren't those just swell?
Don'tTreadOnMeme.com. While you're browsing their numerous silver dime card designs, take time to download the easy-to-use Silver Calculator app. This simple piece of technology lets you know instantly, whether using iPhone or Android, just how much your silver coin is worth. Find out all the details at Don'tTreadOnMeme.com. Now accepting Bitcoin. Don't Tread on Meme. Your path to a voluntary society with honest money. Don'tTreadOnMeme.com, serving you faster than the Fed prints money.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at LRN.FM.
Talking about Ben Lowski, a regulator who's proposed ridiculous legislation that would cripple the Bitcoin economy, at least in New York, if followed. It hasn't been passed as law yet, and there's still time to speak out against it. One man, Bruce Fenton, wrote an article on his blog, fentonreport.com, asking the Bitcoin community to not engage with Benjamin Lawsky, writing, quote, "His power does not come from competence, knowledge, or even an election, but from threats of violence." Let's be honest. Without the threat of violence, his threat of using his power as an unelected political official to place people in jail for use of math, he would have no standing in this space. And most Bitcoin people would have never heard of him. If Mr. Lawsky had to let his ideas stand on their own merit, without force and violence, he would be laughed out of every Bitcoin meeting with his proposal that Satoshi should have had a license before inventing a coin. Instead of laughing at him, we've made him famous in this community and look to him as some sort of leader simply because he has threatened us with violence. So why deal with him? The extreme and damaging BitLicense proposal shows that he has no intention of operating in an honorable, fair, or even remotely logical manner. Why spend time spinning wheels in an attempt to use logic to show the reasons his plans are bad, when he clearly does not care about the merit of his plans? Bitcoin leaders keep seeming to be holding out hope that with just one more white paper, or one more AMA, or one more legal letter, we can get him to see the light. He does not care about right or wrong. He cares about fame and personal gain and his political career and helping his banking cronies by harming Bitcoin. By engaging him, we only further this harm. The alternative. What do I propose instead? I do not believe it productive to engage with someone who wishes us ill and who has shown no intention to operate honestly or with reason or the most basic logic. I think that all of the significant advocacy efforts wasted on engaging with Lawsky should be instead spent on productive activities, which are actually likely to yield positive results. Some specifics. Focus on elected officials who have accountability to voters and actually care what we say, who care about votes, and who care about jobs. This includes reward for those who support technology and pressure on those who do not. Focus on the governor of New York, who appoints Mr. Lawsky's position to make the irresponsible actions of his appointee politically costly and apparent. Focus on court challenges, fighting the legality of those regulations. Focus on media efforts, which highlight the lost jobs and other drawbacks this causes. Focus on humor and other tools which help illustrate how backwards these policies are. If you have a legislative focus on actual bills and laws which are voted on by elected officials, this is how bills are supposed to become law, not the newer practice of appointed officials having radical and broad powers to decree laws governing entire new technologies without votes or accountability. Focus on supporting efforts in Congress, which deal with this on a federal level as a gross overstep of his authority, which are harmful to commerce. Seek reversal of his overstep, and seek federal action which nullifies these regulations and moves him into further irrelevance. Focus on positive action in states with much more logical and honest engagement to encourage business-friendly policies which will bring new commerce and jobs. Completely and totally ignore a person who has shown himself to be a clear enemy of technology and progress. Make him irrelevant. No more press engagement, no more follows and retweets, no more AMAs, no more letters or explanations. Ignore and block New York. And let them sleep in the preposterous bed they've made. Companies and developers who wish to comply with these regulations can block New York IP addresses and feature a prominent "This technology is banned in New York State" disclaimer on their websites. Let Losky have New York join North Korea in essentially banning Bitcoin. If New York's citizens and financial community want to join the rest of the world in one of the most amazing technological developments of recent times, they can move or pressure their leaders for change. These companies and individuals who do not care about the laws will ignore them en masse, even further weakening the legitimacy and authority of Ben Losky. If people feel they must engage with Losky, then he should be fought in court, and the court of public opinion, and ridiculed and challenged in the media. I say ignore him, shun him. He has lied to us and proven himself our enemy, and is doing so not only out of misunderstanding, or because he's not up to speed with understanding Bitcoin, but because he actively seeks to harm us while using slick media tactics to cultivate an image of being open to input. Let Ben Losky go down in history as the man who lost New York its status as a global financial center. Let him run for governor on the platform that he cost his state jobs. I do not believe these actions can succeed in killing Bitcoin. Therefore, I believe Bitcoin will survive, and if it does, these policies will be reversed, and the man who proposed them will look like a Luddite. The name given to people who once smashed looms because they believed technology, which made hand sewing easier, was evil technology. Some have said that New York is key because it's an example that other states will follow. Let's expose these policies for what they are and give incentive to other regulators not to follow suit. Let's be productive. Let's stop complimenting him on his foresight and let's instead be honest. These are the courageous words of Bruce Fenton. Follow him on Twitter at Bruce Fenton or on his website at fentonreport.com. This is Peace News. You can catch us at PeaceNewsNow.com. What do you think about Bitcoin? Will you comply with this law? Do you live in New York City? Do you have a Bitcoin business? Are you willing to get a Bit license?
Free Talk Live.
I spent 8.5 years of my life in prison, and I blame it squarely on the shoulders of Christianity and the stories that I was told. If my parents, if the people at the Christian school, if the people at church would have just explained morality to me as opposed to explaining heaven and hell as a reason for doing what was right and what was wrong, I think I would have understood. It's relatively easy. If you do the moral thing in life, your life is going to be better. You're going to sleep better at night. You're going to probably be much more prosperous.
Right,
they say crime doesn't pay. They say it for a reason.
Happen right here in this world. We don't have to wait for an afterlife to experience the consequences of our actions, whether good or bad.
If I would have just been given the gift of morality instead of the gift of some silly, crazy story, I would never have gone to prison.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Shiny badges on your jacket, shiny badges. Start a conversation with your neighbor or your doctor or your family or your school. Now there's teachers and lawyers and business executives, and they all wear shiny badges and they all reject the state. Shiny badges on your jacket, shiny badges show the world that you reject coercion and aggression and oppression by the state. ShinyBadges.com.
I am a non-attorney spokesperson. Attention men who've taken androgel or any other testosterone therapy products. Androgel or other low-T products have been linked to heart attack, stroke, pulmonary embolism, deep vein thrombosis, even death. Scientific studies indicate that the use of testosterone therapy products may double a man's risk of heart attack. If you or a loved one took androgel or a testosterone therapy product and suffered from a heart attack, stroke, pulmonary embolism, deep vein thrombosis, or any other cardiac event, you might be entitled to financial compensation. You have rights, and you need to let us fight for your rights. And you pay no fees unless we win. So call the tort attorneys right now. 800-708-7917. 800-708-7917. 800-708-7917. 800-708-7917. Cases may be referred to participating law firms in your jurisdiction.
Instead of just listening, you can also watch. See the Liberty Radio Network's key New Hampshire-based live shows via our studio cam at cam.lrn.fm. Plus, you'll still be able to listen to the Liberty Radio Network via the cam feed in high quality 24/7, even when there's no live show being produced in our Keene studio. But wait, there's more. Our chat room is built into the cam page so you can interact with other listeners online. Listen, watch, and chat. All free at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
Free Press Publications is an independent alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary at fpp.cc, as well as weekly news in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com. The monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc and books at shop.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Are you using special programs to protect your privacy online? The Washington Post reports that proliferation of new online communications and chat programs possess hurdles for law enforcement, as they put it in their headline. Ellen Nakashima writes, federal law enforcement and intelligence authorities say they are increasingly struggling to conduct court-ordered wiretaps on suspects because of a surge in chat services, instant messaging, and other online communications that lack the technical means to be intercepted. A large percentage of wiretap orders to pick up the communications of suspected spies and foreign agents are not being fulfilled, FBI officials said. Law enforcement agents are citing the same challenge in criminal cases. Agents, they say, often decline to even seek orders when they know firms lack the means to tap into a suspect's communications in real time. It's a significant problem, and it's continuing to get worse, Amy S. Hess, Executive Assistant Director of the FBI's Science and Technology Branch, said in a recent interview. One former U.S. official said that each year hundreds of individualized wiretap orders for foreign intelligence are not being fully executed because of a growing gap between the government's legal authority and its practical ability to capture communications, a problem that Bureau officials have called going dark. Are you going dark? Are you hiding your communications from the FedGov? Well, it seems it's posing a real problem for them. I remember a website, I wonder if it's still up, prismbreak.com was the website that offered alternatives. No, I guess that's not the one. Prison Break. It's not Prison Break, but remember when Prism came out? Yeah, that's it. Prism-break.org lists several opt-out of global data surveillance programs like Prison, Xkeyscore, and Tempora, things we learned about from Ed Snowden. Here's what the website looks like for those of you watching along at home. Prismbreak.org reads, "Help make mass surveillance of entire populations uneconomical. We have the right to privacy, which you can exercise today by encrypting your communications and ending your reliance on proprietary services." And then it's got options for your mobile device, your computer, and your network, all services which you can use to get encrypted. You see, you click through here what operating system you've got at home. I'm using OS X. And then it's got options for me like Tor, GNU-net, and disk encryption, services for DNS, for email accounts, ways to encrypt alternatives. If you're using Gmail, perhaps instead you'd like to use RiseUp, a secure communication tool for people working on liberatory social change. So there's email alternatives like BitMessage. There are email clients that you can use like Mozilla Thunderbird, and all sorts of email encryption like GPG tools, GNU Privacy Guard, Mailvelope, all services which you can check out, use completely free. And look, the government says it's working. It's a significant problem. That from the FBI. Hundreds of individualized wiretap orders from foreign intelligence are not being executed. Not because the government doesn't have the legal authority to capture this information, but because they physically cannot do it. It is practically impossible. Officials have expressed alarm for several years about the explanation of online communication services that, unlike traditional and cellular telephone communications, lack intercept capabilities because they're not required by law to build them in. But the proliferation of these services and greater wariness, if not hostility, towards government agents in the wake of revelations about broad NSA surveillance have become a double whammy for law enforcement and intelligence agencies, according to the FBI. Today, at least 4,000 companies in the U.S. provide some form of communication service, and a significant portion are not required by law to make sure their platforms are wiretap ready. So it sounds like this article is sort of a shill for the establishment. The only people Ellen Nakashima spoke to are authoritarian bureaucrats from the FBI who want to control you. And so they're saying, oh, we lack the capabilities. We need more laws that will tell people to build in wiretapping mechanisms. No, how about free people are going to find a way to communicate with each other, whether you like it or not. We will retain our privacy in this age of information. You will not make us your slaves. We can be free. I've gotten into that enough. There's an article that was uplifting I read at nourishingliberty.com this week about bees and how bees are like us in our colony buzzing along. And if we are to organize as effectively as those, we who love peace, if we're going to organize as effectively as those who love war, this is an article worth considering. Author Liz Reitzig at nourishingliberty.com. She writes, beginning with a quote from Jimi Hendrix, "When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace." She begins, "When I was young, a close friend lived on a farm. I remember summers of sweetness running through the rows of tomatoes, us barefoot and snatching the red fruit from the vine, the juice dripping down our chins as we chased each other all around the farm, avoiding our brothers and delaying our farm chores, lost in the abyss on those summer days of abundance. In moments of stillness, we watched gardens fatten while blossoms blushed, seducing the bees and butterflies as berries ripened on the bushes, tempting hungry, agile fingers. Bees, the beautiful bees, with their fuzzy striped bodies and perfectly balanced wings, buzzed around, telling each other through their elaborate dances exactly where to collect enough pollen and nectar to take back to their organized hive, where everything made sense. Worker bees, the female bees that do not become queen, each make one drop of precious honey in their lives to nurture and nourish the young ones of their colony, and each other through the cold winter. The black and yellow parade into the hidden six-sided cells was the ultimate expression of selflessness. Each bee, a mother to the whole colony, is inseparably and intricately interdependent on the others, each living within the paradox that the health and survival of the whole colony is dependent on the participation and cooperation of each individual. I was mesmerized, awed by, and completely in love with the gentle bees. I loved the seemingly magical creatures for more than the superficial, sensual fulfillments they offered. I loved them for making sense when nothing else did, and for offering, indeed giving, each life for one drop of sweetness. Now, years later, in a seemingly endless barrage, loud photographs tell of atrocities in far-off lands as bombs explode bodies while flags separate lovers and families. My friends mourn the homicides of children in cities they call home, while farmers dig in dust, looking for something to feed their loved ones. The anguish is raw, as farmers cry their tears and give blood to the land where they are raided and ravaged again by those who call themselves authority. We'll return with this article from NourishingLiberty.com. How are the bees like us? Are we interdependent on one another, or can a man be truly an island? What can we learn from the way bees interact with their environment? Can we get peace like them?
Stop harming your body with coffee from grocery stores or most chains. Start making a difference, one cup at a time. We've partnered with Camano Island Coffee Roasters to offer you a free pound of BuzzBox coffee. It's organic, so no harmful pesticides or toxins. Shade-grown, meaning less acidity and no heartburn. Try the best of the best for free. Just cover shipping. 10% of future purchases go toward helping us give the gift of human freedom around the globe with at least 100 microloans via World Vision. Go to coffee.freetalklive.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on Saturday night. From there,
Hey, what's going on, caller? You are on Peace News Now. We're on a commercial break at the moment, but I thought I'd give you some airtime now.
Well, thank you for taking me on, Derek. After all, you told me you have thick skin.
Yeah, I apologize. I was on the wrong page. I saw that you called like a few times before this, more than a few times.
I don't call to turn you on.
What's that?
To alternative views. I don't call you to turn you on, but to make you think a second time about the alternative views I have to regards of like your opening subject. If I were on a jury that Sutter guy, I think his name was, I would have gladly voted to convict for interfering with police duties. Call me affectionately a troll, like you said. Anybody that pulls over because he sees 5 squat cars in a strip mall during what could have been an armed burglary is doing something that is a detriment to the civil society, and he should be ashamed of himself. And if I owned that strip mall, or if I had my store being robbed, and a jerk like him were screwing with an officer thinking he was coming to save the day, and that officer's friend got shot at and maybe killed. Okay, I'm all for activism, Derek, but I'm not for people making like trolls and thinking they're saving the world and making fun of cops for not being a popular kid in high school. Obviously, talk about prejudice, dude. I mean, some of the again, I dig you, Derek, and I really hope for the best for you. But some of the things you do and some of the things you advocate are just plain wrong. But I wanted to talk to you last week when I called in because I wanted to know if you talked to Lisa, and I also wanted to respond to your alternative views about what's going on in Gaza, that tiny little place, as Daryl calls it, where this group called Hamas, who doesn't respect the right of any gay person to be breathing on planet Earth, and loves to stone people like you to death, and they get their rocks off doing it, are hiding bombs in schools, in hospitals, in houses where children live. And they are telling their people to stay there and take the brunt of the force. These are evil, wicked people, and those people that you called ants invading Gaza, armed and dangerous because they want to terminate the existence of fascists in Gaza that want Jews off planet Earth. See, these are alternative views that I should like for you to ponder, as since I've never heard alternative views as like Israel's the good guy and the Palestinian Authority and Hamas that runs them are the bad guys.
Hold that thought, James. I'm going to bring you back. Is it James or David? I keep forgetting.
It's James. And if you want to be friends, call me Wit like my friends do.
Well, I'll call you what you prefer, but hold that thought. I'll bring you back.
Call me Wit. If you consider me your...
all right, I'm going to hold that thought. We're back. Welcome back to Peace News Now. We are live for the final segment of the show this Sunday, July 27th, 2014. Finishing up an article from NourishingLiberty.com, and then we have a special caller on the line who wants to share a few thoughts about police encounters and accountability. But just to finish up the article by Liz Reitzig at NourishingLiberty.com, she writes that now, years later, the anguish is raw as farmers cry their tears and give blood to the land while they are raided and ravaged again by those who call themselves authority. Unsurprisingly, anger sets the table as despair prepares to take a seat. And rightly so. This allotment of injustice is enough to make any heart hard and to allow anger to take hold. When bombs are dropped in our name, when there is another assault, often ending in death against a peaceful person, when the land is raped and ravaged for temporary profit, when we see forests and soils that literally breathe life into us destroyed, when value is tossed aside for cheap thrills, and it is more than enough to embitter our souls, it is more than enough to cause despair. That feeling deep in our cores of watching the betrayal of humanity, the betrayal that tears our hearts to pieces for our brothers and sisters we will never meet. The helplessness of watching atrocities we think we can do nothing to fix. But I urge you, do not fear these things. Do not allow hopelessness and despair to overcome you. Rather, it is time to return to our own colony, lovingly bearing the gifts of our work, our wisdom, and our visions. It is time to bring our own precious drops of nectar into our greater communities, realizing as we do that we are acknowledging and allowing our love and interdependence to overcome our fears. Love, it nourishes our resolve and strengthens our courage. It is what gives sense to the senselessness. It is this love that carries us across the bridge from despair to hope, from freedom, from oppression to freedom, from scarcity to abundance, and from war to peace. Somehow, in their tiny beings, in the magical, beautiful mystery of the gentle bees, they know these things. They know that they are together, that the colony is one organism, with each part of the organism living their purpose, giving their life for that one drop of honey. When we choose to embrace and share the sweetness of hope, the abundance of love, we create and sustain the value and nourishment that is found only in the exchange of love between souls. Together, we will nourish our colony, as bees do, and you have the exquisite opportunity to share exactly your drop of sweetness. And this all from nourishingliberty.com. Liz Reitzig is a blogger and peace activist at Nourishing Liberty. She says that Nourishing Liberty is where we plant seeds for ideas to grow and flourish, a place to be inspired by each other, to join together in peaceful activism, and to build community. Now, we turn our attention to a special caller who is on the line via our call-in line, which is 443-424-8347. James is on the line, and he has thoughts to share with us. James, go ahead with your thoughts.
I love you, Derek. Just as the good Lord Jesus Christ commanded me in those silly little books that I heard a co-host of yours from your network on a previous commercial. And I should like to hear you think out loud a second time about my beliefs about Hamas. I don't believe everybody from Benjamin Netanyahu to that skull, who I can't say the word I like to say on the air, Nancy Pelosi, and everybody in between that says that Israel actually is the good guys. And yeah, they were the ones that were shot at first. And yeah, they're reciprocating with some pretty terrible things that are happening to children, not because Israel wants to do something like that. They're going to be the first people that are the first responders to those children that do get hit, not the Palestinians or the Palestinian Authority or Hamas. Those bastards are hiding wherever they can.
Well, I'm not sure what your question is.
Well, I mean, you called them ants last week. Those Israelis that are supposedly, I guess, in your mind, invading.
Well, that was when I was showing a video of the invasion happening with the tank, and I said they looked like ants marching along the ground. The perspective was from far away, so they were very small, and the tank looked big.
Well, my perspective is they're freedom fighters. What say you? Are they murderers in your mind?
I don't have a strong opinion one way or another. I don't claim to have perfect knowledge about what's going on there. I'm more interested in doing what I can where I am to bring peace to my community, and then let that serve as an example for others.
Well, that's far out, because I bet if I went to Keene right now, I would think it's a peaceful community to begin with. In spite of some maybe town bully cops that you might think some of them are, I'm thinking that Keene's a pretty beautiful, like one of your hosts says in the commercial, beautiful city of Keene, New Hampshire. Yeah, it was beautiful there before you, no disrespect, you or any of your Free State Project guys showed up. And I want the same free state that you do, although I don't believe in 7 billion autonomous individual free staters. That's ludicrous, because over 2 billion of those are children, and they're not autonomous individuals. They have I have the right and responsibility to tell my kids what to do, and they're not autonomous sovereign individuals. They do what I say, and they do it whether or not they like it or not, because I actually do have.
I fail to see how this is relevant. Are you saying that freedom can't work because children aren't fully developed human beings? I mean, I think we all recognize that.
No, I didn't say that. Come on now, don't reduce. I would never say something stupid. So
well,
think a little bit harder
that's what
about
it sounds like you're implying, because you're saying, we can't have 7 billion autonomous states as individuals because some of them are children. That's
Isn't that what
you're
all
saying.
You free staters believe? No,
I don't
what
think
all you free staters believe in the 7 billion autonomous state project.
No, and since you brought it
up.
the Free State Project at freestateproject.org has a statement of intent that a person will move to New Hampshire within 5 years of 20,000 others agreeing to do the same, with the goal of enhancing liberty in our lifetime. And that's a pretty vague statement.
Perhaps I'm skipping a beat, because isn't your ideal libertopia if the whole planet were libertopia? that it would, like, I've originally heard Daryl say this, but I'm not sure that it's actually his insight. It might be some other libertarians, and I've heard other hosts on. Forgive me for lumping you all together, but you're all like one party.
No, come on now. I'm trying to fight the idea of collectivism. I like to see each human being as a unique individual who's responsible for their choices.
I know that. I'm talking about your political views. You're a one-party show. That's okay with me. I don't mind that, because I disagree with my co-hosts. Member of the Libertarian Party.
I'm not a libertarian, and I disagree with many of my co-hosts.
Okay, right. I've heard you on with them, and I haven't heard much disagreement about fundamental principles like what I'm mocking the idea of Darrow's of 7 billion autonomous states. Because over 2 billion of those people are kids, and they're not autonomous states.
So, fortunately, I wouldn't impose my view of libertopia on anyone. I would only live the way I think people should live, and let that serve an example for others. And if they like my way of living, then they can adopt it for themselves. But I would never impose it on anyone. So I can understand someone hearing that, there should be 7 billion states, and being fearful of that, because, like, whoa, how's that going to work? And why are you going to make me be stateless? I like the government. But I would never tell someone that they can't have a government. Go ahead. I just don't want it.
Okay, I get you. And I think that I want a small state government, but the government in New Hampshire, that where you live, ain't going away in your lifetime. Sorry to have to tell you that. So
well, not with that attitude.
You're got like 20,000 people max. That's statistically insignificant. Even in a New Hampshire's like my county. The county I live in is bigger than New Hampshire population-wise.
The number of politicians in New Hampshire is statistically insignificant. Well, we'll have to end it there. That's all the time we have for this episode of Peace News. Hey, James, feel free to stick around. Maybe we'll do a quick bonus show, so don't hang up. This has been our episode. You can catch us at PeaceNewsNow.com. All week we've got blog posts going up of DUI checkpoints and other stories of peaceful resistance. In the meantime, we'll catch you Tuesday.
Coming up a little later, the 10 best careers.
Hey James, welcome back. I'm just going to disconnect from LRN so that we're no longer going out over that feed, and Free Talk Live can do what they need to do. They're getting ready to start. I don't know if you're going to try and call in to them tonight, but they're getting started. I
don't want to give them a fair warning that I will, but I am going to work for the next 2 hours.
I won't.
And again, Derek, I appreciate you taking me on, and I again want to hear what your friend Lisa has to say about my beliefs of Hamas.
I'm so glad you asked. I forgot to ask her, to be completely honest. I just totally forgot. You brought her up last week or the week before, and I meant to reach out to Lisa Hanania, my friend from Palestine. She was the first to explain the whole conflict to me. And what was unique about Lisa was that she had a best friend who was Israeli, and they were inseparable, these two. Were best of friends, and it was so strange for me to hear this conflict happening in Israel and Palestine and Gaza Strip, where her home was, and these two were separated by just a tiny border. You know, Lisa said her town was like really poor and nasty, and the Israeli friend, her town was really nice and technologically advanced, and they were really accepting of gays, and so it was like night and day, but they could still be friends.
The first world, of course they can. I know that. Yeah. I know that they are. And
but I thought that was so cool.
I would like to think your friend Lisa is not a member of Hamas.
Oh no way.
Who I would blame Hamas for the reason why she lives in what would be called a third world country, whereas right across the street, that invisible line that she can see through, is a beautiful first world country. And they both would be that way if Hamas had been eliminated from the face of the earth when they sprung up during this little occasion called World War II. That's where those bastards came from. And they were all rooting for the side that was fighting against and trying to kill my old man and his comrades. But, buddy, it's good talking to you. Peace be with you. I hope to do it another time, sooner rather than later, but I do got to go to work.
All right, rock on. Have a great day. Peace, James.
Peace on.
All right, well, that'll do it for this episode of Peace News Now. I appreciate those of you who watch at home. I'm looking to get this video and others like it submitted as content to my local TV station. If you've got suggestions for content, you can email me at peacenewsnow@gmail.com. I've also got a website, derekj.me. And hey, if you like this content and you want to see more of it, you should send me a donation in Bitcoin. You can do that easily by scanning the QR code that you now see on your screen. The center one is our Bitcoin donation address. And Peace News Now, since day one in 2012, has been sponsored entirely by viewers like you. And I'm grateful for every bit of support you lend. Thank you so much. And you can also make your donations at donate.peacenewsnow.com. Until Tuesday, this is Derek J. signing off.